This meeting is being recorded.
Hi friends, I'm Cheryl. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm doing another interview, and this interview is a healing interview with somebody who would prefer to remain anonymous. But we're going to talk about our healing journey and its importance. Its importance to, I don't know, would you say the future of our world, the future of our society? Would you say that's accurate?
I would definitely say so. Anything that can help us become more aware of, help us awaken us to the life that we're living right now, would definitely help humanity and society as a whole. We all need to do our part to basically live, in peace, to live in harmony with not just the earth, but with each other.
So when it comes to the healing part of this journey, maybe you can talk a little bit about the importance of the healing journey, maybe even what your healing journey has been like. How did you begin this process of putting this all together?
God, I cannot go into much details in regards to that. I've had a bumpy road, very, very bumpy road, and there's a lot of pain and resentment that I still hold on to for some reason, and there's a lot more that I'm still digging into. There's been a lot of trauma in my life, and one of the things that, like, again, I can't go into much detail because the brain blocks everything out. As a child, there were things that were done to the point where I can't even go to the hospital and to get tested for anything, because when they try to take blood from me, my heart just stops. It just stops. I mean, flatline. They've been, and it's from an intense fear, an intense. You can't even talk about it that much. It's just memories.
That's okay. I get it. I do.
But yeah, one of the things I've taken, through all the pain, I've basically gone inside to hide from the world when I was younger, and I found a detachment from everything and everyone. It was honestly, it was God that helped me through it all. Because I mean, you hear that, you remember that poem of the footprints, and
yes.
When I look back, it really is God just carrying me through it. There's things that I've learned, in reference to myself personally and in reference to humanity. I've learned that many people react from a place of fear, from a place of anger, from things that have not been right in their lives, without the understanding that the things that have happened in their lives all have had a meaning. They've all had a purpose. They all have a lesson. And I think the one thing that you have to take from that you are angry with, or something that someone has done that you resent, or something that has happened, you have to, it's difficult, because you always tend to protect yourself first. You have to forgive them, because forgiving them is forgiving yourself. Forgiving them is forgiving that part in yourself. And when you start finding forgiveness in yourself, in others, you start finding forgiveness in yourself. You start to see the world with a different eyes. You start to see things, for what they really are, not just what they appear to be or what you want them to be, but what they really are. And once you start that journey, you start, honestly, everything starts coming out. You start letting it go, piece by piece, little by little, but only what you can handle. Um, there was um, there was a time a few years back, uh, where most of your release, most of your pain and your karma, so to speak, is released through dreams and nightmares. Because that's where your mind is working with your subconscious, to acknowledge all these things and understand them. There was a time where I woke up and I literally thought I would have to be, I would have to commit myself, to an insane asylum, because it was just, everything was just so crazy.
Mm,
And and to my amazement, the world just started reflecting everything that I had just gone through. Little by little, you start taking it all in. As crazy as it sounds, though, this world is miraculous. There's things that people just can't seem to understand are real. They can't get they can't grasp it. But you have to, little by little, step by step. You got to start, and that's how it is. And I'm sorry, I'm sure I probably went off track.
no, no, this is perfect, actually. So when you when you are in the process of this healing and you are trying to face this is a question I get all the time. When you're trying to face these things, how do you deal with the pain? How did you find you dealt with it? Was it because you were being shown these things in the world that made you see the goodness, or
I don't know. I don't see it like that. It wasn't like the world was showing me the goodness. Um, it was more like God was showing me the goodness inside me. And
oh,
and the world is just an image of ourselves. What
right.
we choose to show the world is what the world chooses to show to us. And it's, um I mean, I wouldn't say healing. Again, it's just a process of life. It's just a process of transcending from, you know the world we live in to the world we want to be in. So it's not. I wouldn't call it healing, because there's an old saying where the scars in our hearts is where the light comes in. And it's, if you haven't had pain, you really can't understand healing. Um, you really can't understand. You know, again, as I said, it's difficult to explain. It's not something that can be easily put into words. It's more of emotions. It's more of feelings. It's more of, you know, it's just the way the energies are working. And right
How do you
now the
handle the
energies.
struggle?
I'm sorry.
How do you handle the struggle? Like when you feel like you're resisting the things that are coming in, the pain that is coming in.
It's every day. It's hard to do. It's hard to do, but if I were to explain it, I would say, you know, I I live at the moment, not the past, not the future. Even though, again, everything just likes to pile itself on top of you, but I try to live at the moment. Um, the future may come, may not. The past has passed. You could drag it with you, or you can leave it behind. It's up to you.
Right.
But you really live at the moment. There is only the now. Every time you move, every time that passes is always the now that you are in. You're never in the
Right.
future. You're never in the past. You're always in the now. And in regards to the way I deal with it, sometimes, yes, my emotion gets away from me, and sometimes I get angry. You know, but I've learned that, because I'm always constantly analyzing it. At the end of my anger, I rationalize it. why am I really angry?
Hmm.
And if I hurt somebody, I try to apologize. If I didn't hurt anybody, I apologize to God, because, like it or not, God is real, and there is no way that I've been able to find to be able to disprove that.
Right.
And ever since God has shown himself to me, I have gone through, you can't imagine, all the psychological and all the type of um, thought experiments that you can possibly come up with to disprove God. I can disprove myself. I can disprove the existence of myself, but I cannot disprove the existence of God, if you can imagine that. Um,
Wow.
so what I do is every night is I, and it's not prayer, because I don't, hold my hands, close my eyes, and say a prayer to God. No, I go outside, um, with my cigar in hand, smoke a cigar, and just be. And I just be where I'm at. And I talk to God like if he's standing right next to me.
Hmm.
It's like I like first of all thank him for the day. Um, and I guess through that particular process, I let go of all the negative that I picked up throughout the day. Because you're going to pick up a lot of negative throughout the day,
Yeah.
whether it's the guy driving too slow in front of you, the guy honking the horn behind you. You're always going to pick up negative throughout the day. The difference is, do you carry it to the next day, or do you let it go?
Right.
And a lot of people say, "Oh, I let it go," but do you really? Because we all have that in the subconscious. There's people that say, "Oh no, I don't hold a grudge." Yet 2 years down the line, they're like, "Hey, remember that day that's you're holding on to it?" And the best thing you do is just let it go. You
Right.
have so much to do in this world. You really don't need to carry that extra load.
So let's talk about what it is we need to do in this world. So all of this, well, you don't want to call it healing, but all of this that we go through is bringing us to what?
It's a process of awakening. It's a process of realization, to learning more about ourselves, to learning what our potentials really are. Um, we have been, I mean, you could say it's a conspiracy theory, but we have been living in a world of darkness for well over several thousand years, where you have only been taught what they want you to know. You have eaten the food that they tell you is right for you to eat. You have drank the water they taught you is right for you. And we're starting to realize that all of that is wrong. Even our history has been written to serve the winners. It's just so many things. It's all from someone's point of view, trying to get you to see their point of view. Um, Life is like a window. Well, like windows in a house. A house has many windows. They all look towards the same direction, but everybody sees a different view. And
Right.
that's what we need to understand. We need to start to awaken to the fact that it doesn't have to be this way. You know, um, if we, if again, I'm sorry to go on this, just that the political aspect of this world is moving into a dangerous territory. Um, there was and the fact that this is being recorded is it's a little more difficult for me to explain, because then it sounds crazy. There was a vision I had. They come rarely. Like I said, God has spoken to me several times and shown me several things that are, you know, glorious, and things that are horrendous, both good and evil. Um, I have seen things that you can't even imagine. I mean, I don't think even hell can imagine some of the things I've seen. Um, there was a vision I had, um, and whoever's listened to this can do their research. Maybe they can double check it. There was a before December 21st, 2012, there was a vision I had of two asteroids heading for planet Earth, and they were going to impact directly on Earth. Then there was a word from an angel that said, stop. And the asteroids just froze in place. When the Earth passed, then they just moved right through. And the image or the impression, the message that I got from that was God saying, you have a little more time. We are at a precipice. We almost didn't make it. God said, well, you're almost there. You have a little more time. And the timing that God gave me was 2024. 12 more years was and by 2024, as the impression that I got, by 2024, we need to complete this. And this was before I even knew Trump or any other the stuff that's going on. I mean, I knew that there's a lot of evil in this world. A whole lot of evil in this world, and all of the end time prophecies came down to 2012. They're like 2012 is going to be the end. 2012 is going to be the end, and the world has ended several times before. People don't realize this. The world has ended several times before. Flooding, fire, so many different things. It happens periodically. It's natural. It's part of the natural order of things. And humanity has restarted. And again, this is one of the things that they've been hiding from us, because you'll find tools from 2 million years ago. You'll find electrical sockets that, a million years old. So they've been hiding a lot of stuff from us, and people just don't realize. So humanities have been here a lot longer than they've told us. It's just, it ends and restarts. It's like we're getting to free ourselves from this dark hold, but somehow we always keep failing after restart. We keep falling and starting over. So this time, the message I got was that we have more time. We have, and again, 2024. And
it's coming fast.
Huh?
It's coming fast.
That's why you see things speeding up the way they are. And right now, the evil has been moving so slow, and periodically, it's like you put the frog in water and you turn the water to heat up slowly. The frog would just sit there and just boil to death. But something happened that just made everything go faster. So the water got turned up faster. So now the water is boiling and the frogs are jumping out. And it's the only analogy I can put to it. So yes, the fact that everything is speeding up is helping people wake up, helping people. There has never one of the main things since I was a kid. One of the main things I've always wanted back in this world was to have God as his core. To have God in the core of this world, where it's the core belief of this world is God's blessing, God's love, God's mercy. And I've seen it go down from that. I've seen the world just descend into everlasting chaos. But over the last couple of years, I've seen that taking, a good turn upward. Mm-hmm. I see people's faith returning. I see people waking up. I see people realizing, this is evil. What's going on? I don't want any part of this. And I see people going back to God. I see people, not necessarily religion, because I don't trust religion. Religion to me has been a system that was set up to, control and manipulate humanity. And people need to awaken to that. I'm not saying that God is not real. I'm not saying that Jesus is not real. I'm not saying, all these things are not real. I'm just saying that the way that it's been designed and controlled is in a way, I mean, the way you see it, I mean, think about it. One of the richest parts of this world, it's the church. that you got
Yeah.
people starving, and yet you all these millions, billions of dollars that they're sitting on and gold and all these, and why are they hiding all this knowledge that they have in the Vatican libraries? Why? Why don't they want people to know? Why? Because power is knowledge. I mean, knowledge is power. Power is what they're after,
Right.
and people are starting to realize that, starting to see that, and and it's given me a lot of hope for humanity, so to say. But um, as people start waking up to this, they're gonna start seeing their own pain. They're gonna start seeing their own scars, and only when you see your scars can you start to heal them. And that is the process that we're going through right now. And again, I don't want to call it healing. It's just, it is a form of awakening. And this is just on this particular aspect of this world. There's so many other theories and so many other lessons beyond this world that, but we have to deal with what's in front of us first.
Right.
There's so many hidden histories that humanity has been, kept from. And again, the fact that it's recording, I'm a little reluctant to share a lot of it for that particular reason. It's so crazy, the stuff that is out there. People just.
Well, I have a question. Before we started, you were talking about 3D versus a higher dimension. And maybe we can revisit that. And, the 3D is, of course, where we are right now. And as we awaken,
Well,
and I think
actually, we are actually multidimensional. We're only locked and fixed upon the third dimension because of our conscious energy being put into this. We are multidimensional, and one of these things is crazy. It's when you start getting this is one of the reasons when I woke up, I thought I would have to, stick myself into an insane asylum for that particular reason. It's like you start seeing multiple, because everything's happening at once.
right.
In multiple dimensions. You walk into a let's say Starbucks, and the moment you walk in, it's like, what are your options? You're doing every single option at the exact same time. So when I say you're multiple dimensional, it's like just because you're walking to the counter to go talk to the barista doesn't mean that you're not sitting on the side. You're not standing in the other corner. You're not in the bathroom, but because you're doing all these things at the same time. Because instead of going to the barista, maybe you went and sat down, or maybe you went to the bathroom, or maybe you stood up. These are all your options. All your options are happening simultaneously, but only until you focus on that one, it's not the one that's happening.
That's interesting. I would not have thought of multidimensional that way. But that makes sense. I know that when I was a child, I often felt like it's almost like there were parallel universes. That there were things that were happening that had in the other universe that I was part of had already happened, and it wasn't even a deja vu because it was like full events that occasionally I could recall that happened. And so I was thinking like that, but that makes perfect sense.
It's like the same thing. Parallel universes, multiple dimensions, kind of like the same aspect, because it's like it's like I'm walking down the stairs, but at the same time I'm also walking up, or at the same time I'm falling down, or at the same time I'm catching myself from falling down. It's like everything is you, but again, you're locked on the third dimension. You're focused on third dimensions. That's all you're consciously aware of. But subconsciously, you're seeing, you're connected to all these events at the exact same time. So when I say that we're multidimensional, it's that once your awareness starts reaching a certain level, you're going to start seeing everything at the same time.
Right.
And and again, it goes beyond that because you're gonna see again, it's just theories and haven't been put into complete practice. Um, but it's not just the same time, but you're gonna see events unfolding beyond that, and you're gonna see events that happen before that. So we have an incredible capacity, an incredible energy that we have access to. I think it's like what 90% of our DNA is still locked away from us, and they call it junk DNA. God never makes anything junk, and even in our DNA, you'll see that the signature of God, His name, is actually in our DNA. They've actually found that. So there's a whole lot that you know we are capable of doing. We just don't realize how to access how to access those things. But we're slowly getting there.
What's the importance of ascending and getting to that place? What's the importance of that for society, for our future?
Well, on the simple fact of that, just the fact that we're more aware of our surroundings, will basically we'll be putting out less negative energies. Let's say, for example, you have somebody in front of you that's taking a little longer on the light than they should. You're not just going to lean on the horn. You just give it a little pat and just go on about it. Or you're going to hear the guy honking the horn behind you. You're going to just let it go. You're not going to hold on to it more. That's on the simple aspect. On the overall aspect, you're going to see, like right now. Right now, you're watching TV. You're seeing the subtle hidden messages inside each TV show or movies that you normally would just glance past it. You'll see things that you're like, wow, was that really there? Like in 2010, I think it was, or 2011, there was an episode of Psych. He just blurts out the words, Crossfire Hurricane. This is back in 2010, 2011. We fast forward 6, 7 years later, and we have Crossfire Hurricane, which is an investigation by the FBI on Trump. How do you tie those together? How did it's like, was it just coincidence? And then you look at The Simpsons, for example. The Simpsons have been predicting 7 years, 8 years in advance, like Trump coming down the escalator type thing and announcing he's going to run for president. How did they know?
Right.
When Trump has been saying, "Hey, I'm not running for president." So
right.
Again, there's a lot of things that they've been showing you throughout, in trying to wake you up or just hiding it in plain sight. So when you start being more ascended, you start seeing things for what they really are.
Right.
And again, that's just in those aspects. There's a whole lot of things to it. I don't know if you've ever connected to source, so to speak, that the energy, you feel like you're connected to everything and you feel such joy that nothing else compares to it. And you feel, and you have a sense of awareness where even the color of the trees are brighter. You see the wings flapping on a hummingbird, which you normally just your vision is so slowed down that you just see a blur, but everything just slows down and you're able to take in so much more at once. And again, there's a lot in the unseen world that we choose not to see. There's a lot in the unseen world that we choose not to see. Things that would scare us or things that would, enjoy us or make us, more enjoyable. There's a whole lot, our range, there's a whole lot that we're missing.
Right.
So in Ascension basically would be being part of a whole new world without letting go of the old one per se, just letting go of the negative things that we had from the old one. It's all about learning. It's all about um, awareness. It's all about knowledge, so to speak. Because you could amass great treasures. You could amass anything you want. You could have a huge collection of whatever. At the end, when you die, we all die at one point or the other, physically. What do you take with you? What do you really take with you?
Right.
Just the experiences and the knowledge that you gain in this world. And you bring that to the collective, you bring that to yourself. It's just so difficult to explain. There's a moment in time. All right, the human body, again, anyone can, if you really analyze it itself, is not designed to die. It's not. The human body regenerates itself constantly. Every 28 days, every 28 days, less for others, a little bit more for some others, but around every 28 days, your human body regenerates itself. The only reason is that with the toxins that we put into our system, you start to overload that particular process. So that process starts to slow down and slow down and slow down. And it gets to a point where you hit like 50, and then all of a sudden, so it's like it goes downhill, and you like age really much faster because you're just not able to keep up. Your system just gave up. But I mean, there was in the Bible, it tells you people live 700, 800, 900 years. And I'm willing to guess probably the only reason they decided to die was because they got bored. But it's the human body has so much. I don't know how to explain it. It's just it has so much, to it, so much resilience, so much abilities that we still haven't fully acknowledged. And awareness and awakening helps us get to that particular point.
Again, I think this is something that you said before we started, but the one of the things that I truly believe, and I know people who watch my channel, are in the process of believing or believe already, is that we are often made sick by things that are going on in the world versus really being sick. We are affected by, like, emotions can make you physically, I mean, I'm just using that as an example, but emotion can make you physically sick.
Yes.
And you can begin to carry blockages. And, you mentioned from your own childhood things that were so painful that you had to block them out. If you tried to get blood taken, you would flatline. That is our bodies responding to something that's internal, not that there's physically something actually wrong. And so I truly believe that so much of what is wrong in our physical body is not really something that is wrong. It's these things that we carry that we have to release.
Yes, but also the outside world affects us in ways that we can't understand. Take, for example, the Earth itself has something called the Schumann resonance. It is the Earth's very own frequency, if you will, and it's always been constant for the last, several 10,000 years at 7.83 hertz. Now, lately it's been jumping up and down, going AWAC all over the world. But there's a point in time, for example, back in 2016 or 2017, where Hawaii received a message, to prepare for nuclear attack, missile incoming on the Grand Alert system. At that very particular moment, at that very same moment, due to the amount of fear that generated around the world, the Schumann resonance spiked. So our own conscious energy, our own fears our own, well, the energy that we put out affected the earth. So does the earth itself affect us. Now, the sun, now this global warming, honestly, it to me is a hoax. I'm going to say that for legal purposes. It really is a hoax. Um, the sun itself is not heating the earth, much like it used to. It's not heat. It's a radiation that's coming from the earth that just feels a lot hotter. Um, I would attribute it to the Mandela effect. When you were a kid, I'm sure when you drew the sun, you drew it in yellow. But if you look at the sun now, it's white. It's no longer yellow like it used to be. So it's an intenser heat. It doesn't mean that it's hotter. It's just that you feel it more. It's a type of radiation. Um,
Hmm.
that in itself is the sun is going through the changes just like we are. That in itself is affecting us, and affecting the earth, the magnetic field, which is why the Schumann resonance has been spiking for the last few years, and that affects us. And I mean, if you go to places, well, if you look at research online, you can see that the Schumann resonance has also correlations with the heart rate. You know, some people have, you know, they feel heart arrhythmia, or they have, you know, different types of issues with their heart. And you correlate it in with the. I used to time it. I used to look at the Schumann resonance. I used to take my blood pressure, and then compare it to Schumann resonance. Every time my blood pressure was like 200 plus, the Schumann resonance was like, you know, into the 40s, 50s, and higher every single
Wow.
time. And when it drops, my blood pressure, boom, dropped. So there's a direct correlation when you have that connection. And some people that are a little more sensitive than others, you know, you could feel when something's going to happen somewhere in the world. You don't know exactly what. You know, when I was a kid, 6, 7 years old, I would look at a map and I would just point at it. You know, earthquake, volcano, you know, hurricane, and without a fail, 2 or 3 weeks afterwards, boom, boom, it would happen. It's not that it would happen; it would show up, and it's not that I was making it happen. It's just that I would feel the energies flowing into those places. As I got older, that energy that kind of faded. So now it's, you know, it's give or take, but you can still feel that energy. You can still feel, because it affects you. It affects your body. Anything that affects the earth affects us. We're connected. We're all a one ecosystem. You know, and it's like you try to tell yourself that you are apart from the world when you're actually connected to the world physically. Now, spiritually, you could be apart from the world of what the world offers spiritually. Stay away from that. But when, but physically, you're still a part of this world. You're still contributing. You could either contribute good or you can contribute bad. Now, everything I've been saying has been generalizing. When it comes to the healing, it basically comes to a person's individual experiences. You have to come to that, you know, on your own experience. I mean, I've helped people before, um, to understand certain things, to understand, you know, the issues that they've had, um, through. But I that is on a one-on-one basis. That is you know, you have to basically see through their eyes. Right now, I'm generalizing. You know, your audience might be vast or it might be small. I don't know who in particular is listening, or if it helps her, or if somebody's just saying, "Oh, forget this guy." But it is just that. It's you have to work on it, you know, on your own, towards your
Right.
own experiences.
And it is a choice. Each of us has to make that choice to do that, to stay with that. And it's not easy sometimes, right? I mean, I've been getting, there's been a lot of struggle energy that I did a video on my other channel this morning about that, because I feel that, I feel it collectively, that there are a lot of people who, you know, have been working on themselves, who have been ascending, who awakening for a while, and they are not seeing things happen. And there's almost like the discouragement is getting to them, and they're struggling with it. And so they're like, what's the point? Why continue? Well, you continue for yourself. You continue because really you're a lot. I know for myself, I'm happier when I am in that place of ascending and when I am in that place of awakening. But
there's a story in the Bible about when Jesus walked the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, where the devil came to him and the devil tried to tempt him. So
right,
even Jesus was faced with that particular issue.
right, wow,
These are the
yeah,
times. These are the times where, yeah, you're gonna have, you know, that little devil in your ear talking to you and trying to get you to move, to loose and change your course. But those are the moments where you actually have to ask yourself, is that really what you want to do?
right,
You're gonna feel frustrated. You're gonna feel like you're going the wrong direction, and these are the moments you have to stop and center yourself. One of the things that it might sound, it's gonna sound crazy, but there's a deja vu. There's deja vu is what I refer to is, it's a confirmation point. I don't know if you ever had deja vu. It's a lot of people have had it. It's like you feel like you've seen this particular, you've done this particular thing. I consider
right,
those confirmation points. See, everything is already planned out. Everything it's gonna it's uh okay. It's a little more deeper than that, but it's like it lets you know that you're on the right path for what you've chosen. Um, the only way I could explain it is I was actually this is one of the things that God mentioned to me a couple of days ago. Actually, um, the moment God said, "Let there be light," that was the moment that everything was created. Everything, not man and woman, and not day by day, not the 7 days. No, the moment that God said, "Let there be light," He already had in plan everything that was going to happen, everything that was going to be. He had already in plan the idea, or not the idea, but the coming of Christ to sacrifice Himself on the cross for all humanity, to forgive us for all our sin, even though we have yet to have committed the original sin by eating the apple, supposedly. But ever since God said, "Let there be light," everything was created. Everything was going to be the way it's supposed to be. So those particular deja vu points are just basically markers to let you know you're on the right track. You know, continue in the path that you're headed. Um, for whatever reason that you're on that particular path. You have to analyze the reasons you're on your path, your own path. Um, but you have to approach it from the understanding that you chose to come to this world to do whatever you chose to do, whether it's good or evil. You chose to
right,
come to this world. These are just confirmation path to let you know you're on the right path to what you've chosen. That's the way I see it. People may see it differently, of course, um, but everything has to happen for a particular reason. There's as I was saying earlier, in regards to good and evil, um, evil is essential because evil allows for good to happen. Good allows for evil to happen.
right,
Take an example. An example: you have a good person who passes by homeless people and gives them money. Then you have an evil person that sees what's happening and says, well, if he's going to be doing that, I'm just going to take his money. If the guy wasn't doing any good, the evil guy would not be thinking about doing the evil. So the guy robs the other one. So now he committed a crime. Now you got the good guy that sees a crime being committed and stops the bad guy. So it's all a cycle in that particular aspect. So everything has a purpose to it.
Right.
You cannot see light without darkness. You cannot see darkness without light. If you were in a room where everything is if you have everything and everything is just white, you don't see anything. You can't distinguish it. You need to have the colors in between to be able to have depth of perception. It's basically the way that we created this particular reality. Everything you see around you is just energy that's taken a solid form to our understanding.
Right.
But it's everything that you do is being said. That's one of the other images that was brought to me. Can't talk about that one just yet, but I think everybody will see it. Hopefully sooner than later. And again,
this really has been fascinating. We're probably somewhere around 40 to 45 minutes. I don't know, did you have anything you want to say before we wrap up? Anything that you feel like it's just burning?
That's the thing.
Everything.
I'm the kind of person that, at least to me, I mean, everybody can do this. And people forget, it's when you have a question, ask the question, but don't forget to listen for the response. It's going to come to you one way or another. When you ask a question, wait for the response. I tend to get answers fairly quickly. Don't know how, don't know from where, but information just tends to come to me really, really fast. So whenever I usually have a question, I ask it, and sure enough, I usually get the answer, which leaves me in a position where I usually don't have questions. I don't need to ask questions. So when people ask me questions, I use those same questions to get their answers. So that's where I'm really hard to talk to in that particular aspect. I mean, you see me running my mouth pretty much all this whole time, and I'm just trying to form words into the my process. But in reality, I'm usually just a pretty quiet guy unless I have somebody ask me anything. I just don't say anything.
And I want, for those of you who are watching this, I want you to know that I didn't know what questions I was going to ask. We talked about this beforehand. Spirit will lead me to someone because I'm meant to bring them to you. But there's nothing planned about this. We didn't plan what we were going to talk about. This is all just spirit led because there's things that we need to know. Isn't that right?
And that is definitely true. This is actually my first interview. I like to stay anonymous. I like to stay quiet. I like to stay in the back. I'm the kind of person that when people go to church and they're sitting down at mass, I'm the one in the back just cleaning up and making sure everything is ready for them, when they start to leave. Well, they used to be. Again, I don't go to church anymore, but I am. See, God works in mysterious ways. That is one of the cliches, or one of the things that they say. But He works through us, through all of us.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like to take glory. I don't like to take any type of recognition, because it's all God's glory. So I'm the kind of person that I just do what I do in the background. They only notice me when I'm not there. That's the only thing. When I'm gone, you just don't notice me anymore. That's when you notice me.
Yeah. Mhm.
So this is very difficult for me to do an interview. Again, which normally when I help people out, it's just a one-on-one. Um, I don't know how else I can explain it. There's a lot of things. Um, there's a lot of things that can help you on your journey. One of the ones I would recommend would be philosophy, analyzing and internalizing um, everything you come across whenever you get a chance. Um, One of the things that helped me out a lot, again, is Alan Watts. Just listen to his videos on YouTube. Really open up a lot of thought processes. God is very inspirational. You can't imagine until when you start asking and talking to God, you're gonna realize how inspirational he is, and you're gonna realize that there is no mistake that God is real. There is no mistake. God is real. God does exist, and there's a lot of things going on in this world right now that you know you have to be aware of, because this is the moment you're making the choices. You're making the choice. Do you side with God, or do you side away? Um, do you and the true hell true hell is not a lake of fire or brimstone or whatever. True hell is living a life without God in it. That is true hell. And you can't imagine a life like that until God is not in your life. And when I tell you, when God is not in your life, you will miss him. You will miss the simple things and the things that he does for you in the background that you're unaware of, that you might be ungrateful for, because you don't even know to give gratitude for that. There's a lot of things that God does for you in your life that you just, you're not aware. And if I'm going to tell you the way that you know that God is real, is simple. Um, Science has taught us that everything is energy. Everything is energy. Energy is never destroyed. It's only reconstituted. We are all energy. Our physical body is a focused energy. We focused our energy and we created this particular form, and we've taken this form. And we have consciousness. Energy is all connected. So imagine God as all the energy in one with consciousness.
Mm.
That's the way you can imagine it. All the energy, if we individually have consciousness, imagine all the energy as one with consciousness. Um, to think about it a different way is, think of a mirror. God is standing in front of that mirror, and we are basically little fragments, each one of us a different little fragment of that mirror. And that's
Yeah.
basically it. We are basically pieces of a puzzle, and God is the complete puzzle. And when you start seeing the world in that particular from that particular angle, from that particular point of view, you're gonna start seeing the world in a much better place, much better light. Now, don't get me wrong. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be evil coming after you. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be bad things in your life. There most definitely will, and most likely they're going to increase exponentially. Why? Because you're reaching a level that is helping you expand beyond it. And every time every time you're going to expand, you got to get to a precipice, and you got to be able to push above that.
Right.
And then you have another plateau, and you have another one. But most importantly, evil is also real too, and they're going to want to knock you
Evil
down.
knows. Evil knows when you're ascending, and the attacks become stronger.
But also realize you have the power. You
Mhm.
hold all the power, because when evil comes, you have to be consciously aware and just say, no, not today.
Oh,
There's a prayer for the armor of God. put on the whole armor of God. If you say that every single morning, you're going to be, protected. And you're going to go through your day, and anything that comes at you is going to just bounce right off that armor. But the most important thing is, it's you being aware of all that.
Right. Right.
You are the key. You are the key ingredient in your life. And when anybody tells you, when anybody ever tells you that you're not perfect, that is wrong. There is no other perfect you out there than you. You are the perfect you.
Right.
Nobody out there can be a better you than you.
This is true.
Make mistakes. You don't make mistakes, but the mistakes you make are the mistakes that you have chosen to make to learn from.
I like that. That's really helpful.
There's another analogy that just came to me right now. When a person has amnesia, they get hit in the head, they have amnesia, they don't remember anything about their lives. The first thing they do is they're taken to places that they recognize, so they see things. And that is what mistakes are. Mistakes are that. They are the things that you see, the things that you learn to help nudge that aspect back into you, to help nudge that particular divinity back into you. That's just another way I could analyze it.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. That's a great analogy. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And I'm just kind of blown away. I have to kind of sit with the things that we've talked about and I hope and I encourage all of you who watch this to sit with this. And if you have questions, put them in the chat. I would love to take your questions. I'll send them on, and maybe there'll be a time in the future that we'll do a follow-on and just look at some of the questions, and I'll bring them to my friend here, and he can decide. So thank you again so much for joining us. And any parting words before I hit the stop record?
No, it's been my pleasure. I'm again, it's my first interview, and I'm happy I can share some information and some wisdom that might help, even if it just helps one person. It really is worth it. So thank you. Thank you for allowing me to do this.
Thank you. Bye for now.